terminal station.
Oh, Lucia!
All the way up to the Naval Hospital. So what I think I'm gonna do is I'm gonna reconfigure it so it makes a little loop here by the cathedral, and then it basically just goes from the cathedral to the Naval Hospital. And then in the future, we're probably gonna add a bit more housing in here to kind of just justify it. So it's gonna be like a very, very small line, although this presents another issue, because of course it does. I'm gonna need some feedback here. Let's imagine you work at the Seeburg Naval Hospital, and you live in the northern part of Neuville, right here. And ideally, you don't want to own a car, because it's not easy to own a car here in Seeburg. So you would like to grab the tram. Okay. With my new plan, you'd grab it right here next to your workplace, which is perfect. But then you'd have to make a transfer here in Old Town to the Setien 1 line to then make another transfer here in Alexandria. Or can we assume that people would get off the tram right here? Because remember, with the new plan, the Setien 1 Express is going to actually make a turn here.
Musst diesen Weiber einfach die Hose runterlassen, von bis zur Oberstufe, und die Männer musst du einfach verschießen.
You'd have to get out here,
dann ist alles
and
gelöst,
then you'd have to walk across the bridge into Alexandria to grab a tram, not at this stop,
und wenn es nicht
probably
aufhört,
at this
musst du
stop
einfach
here.
weitermachen.
So that is at least like maybe a 6-minute walk. Is that something people would do? Oh, it's a bit tricky. I think we're gonna go ahead with this initial plan for the Setien 1 Express line, which is gonna turn it into a really small, weird line, but it's probably better than the absolute mess it's currently causing on this stretch. In terms of infrastructure investment, this one is pretty simple. We'll just need some dedicated tram tracks along this pedestrian street so that we've got a full loop around the cathedral. And then we'll need to see if we can find the
Nicht Minus! Nein, nicht Minus! Nein, nein! Oh, schon wieder, schau mal.
That's gonna be a little tricky.
Schon wieder Minus gemacht.
On the surface, this does make the 4-train track configuration we made earlier on this setup here just a little less useful, but not completely useless, because I imagine that, I mean, we still need trams to move through here without stopping, because we've got an actual depot right here. So I guess that's a nice thing, that trams will be able to move through here to enter one of the other lines without the Setien 1 kind of just backing everything up. Now removing the final stop in the north from the express line right here by the stadium. We can now make it loop around the cathedral, and I do expect the transit timetables mod to drastically reduce the amount of vehicles it's going to calculate for this line now, given that the route is so very soon.
Das ist einfach geil, das Lied, hey! So geil, ja! So, das genügt für den Moment.
7, yeah, it's going to reduce that to 4, which is probably too much as well, but we'll see how the
Stell dir vor, da musst du ein ganzes Lied hören. Da musst du einen Haufen Heroin drin haben. Sugar, ja?
The western side of the cathedral for the Setien 1
Sugar
Express line,
Halo.
but obviously we just need the one stop now that it's committing to a loop around the cathedral moving back, which is kind of fun because the Setien 1 line does the same, it just moves in the opposite direction. They now share the same stop here so that you can transfer from the Express to the full line very easily.
Und der BMW,
It's going to take a little while though for all the Setien 1 Express line vehicles to clear
Nicht der
out
BMW,
from the
sag
avenue
das
of the
dir.
Princess. So as we
Ja,
wait for
ich
this
weiss nicht,
to
von was du redest. Ja,
alleviate
willst du
and
jetzt
look
gerade
a
und
little
so? Weißt du, was ich
better
meine?
in a
Willst du
couple
ein
of
Pill in den
minutes,
Arsch, ja?
let's get to this.
Ein Zäpfli! Kennst du Zäpfli? Kannst du Zäpfli haben? Das Grosse, gib ihm das Grosse.
Yeah, we're gonna
grosser Zapfen kannst du an.
move up north again beyond
Wo
the city
reinkommt
limits
er?
of Seaburg
Ins 1
to
oder
the
ins 0, ist mir
cozy
egal,
little
ja.
town we built
Irgendwo
in the
muss er einfach
previous
rein, ja.
episode where I've already
Probierst mal
made
ins
some
1,
of
kommt nicht
wonderful
weit,
feedback.
wahrscheinlich, ja.
We needed
Musst
some
doch ins
naming
0 tun.
input,
Musst
and
tief
this
rein,
was a
weißt.
pretty tough call among a couple of really
Aber
great
vorher kann man
suggestions,
schon
but
etwas rein tun,
Ralphinator
kannst du mir
Splinter
Stöpfen.
felt
Du
right
musst
at
mir
home.
Stöpfen mit
I
dem
also
Stöpfen.
just love
Das
how
auch
this
nicht mehr
suggestion actually takes the age of the
Stöpfen ist
town
halt,
into
ja.
consideration and
Cheese
acknowledges
oder so,
that
ja.
naming it after a church
Weißt du,
might not be
Cheese
the
wäre
right
doch geil,
call
ja.
since the church is from the interwar period,
Cheese in
so
the
it's not
Kopf.
all that old. And this comment also suggested to pedestrianize a little bit of the
Und dann
heart
Hope mit
of
Holz, weißt du, was ich
Unterfeld.
meine?
Because it
Ja,
would be fitting.
Hope.
If it was a German town, it's not
Hope
strictly
for
a
the
German
Pope,
town
yeah.
since Seaburg isn't German,
Hope the
but
Pope
for like
survived.
a German Central European vibe, I think it fits just as well. So we're just gonna pedestrianize
You
a
got
few
to do
roads,
what you got
which
to
is
do,
a
yeah,
nice
you know?
little invitation to
You
just
just got
do
to
a
do what
little
you got
bit of
to.
additional detailing here, adding a
Just
few
the way
more
it is, you know.
surfaces. Because the next comment implementation is also going to be here in Gonzaville.
You got to let Dagmar fuck the children, yeah? Dagmar Grover. It's legal, yeah. It's got to stay running, right? Not the other one. We're gonna Dagmar, you know. The chicken.
Yeah, it really is quite basic, but I think it adds a fun character at least compared to the previous book with very little detailing. So just giving the service in place.
Should have killed her.
A bit of an open spot where you can
Should
grab some
have
food.
killed
Just
her.
make sure the color scheme here is
Should
the
have
same.
killed her.
It's like a really nice addition. We've got a
Maybe
little,
you know
food
what
cut
I
here as well.
mean. Maybe.
Very nice. For the
You're in the
next
grave.
bit of input, we're moving slightly further
Maybe
north to
you're
the
in my
school here on
grave.
the borders or boundary of the town.
Maybe. Should have killed her.
On the northern border of
Should have killed
Gunzerfeld.
her.
Yeah, so I looked for a bit of input
Should
here
have killed
because
her.
I just choose to like randomly place it in the middle of a
Should
bunch
have
of
killed
fields and
her.
a bit of forest.
Should have
without
killed
much
her.
reasoning. But I got this suggestion from Mikhail to actually just treat it as like an agricultural school of sorts. So I'm going to name it the Mikhail. I hope I pronounced that.
Should have killed the
agricultural
Niger. Niger.
Also, there's been a bunch of feedback to
Kyle
provide bus
Niger.
access to this agricultural school. which
Kyle
I'm
Niger,
obviously just gonna
Kyle
ignore
Niger.
and go ahead and build
Who is
something
Kyle
for trucks
Niger?
instead. Yes.
Kyle Nigers.
Because Danon suggested a distribution
Should have
center
killed her.
located close by to highway access, and it turns
Ah,
out
should
we've
have
got
killed
some
her,
great custom
should have killed
assets from
her.
PDX Mods to
Should have killed
utilize for
her,
just
should have
this
asked
purpose.
her, should have
This is
killed
the
her,
modern
should have asked
industrial
her.
distribution center, and it comes in
Should
a
have asked
medium
her,
version,
should have
which
killed
is
her.
already pretty sizable.
Should have killed
At
her.
least in terms of in-game scale.
Maybe should
Then
have
there's the large
not killed
version,
her.
and there's the extra
Maybe
large
should
version,
have. I don't
which
know.
is just
Maybe should not be an
massive.
American.
So I think in this particular case, I'm actually just gonna use the medium, although it's the slightly
Hey,
boring
Joe.
choice. I get that, because I'm gonna use the large
You're gonna
version
shoot that
somewhere
lady
else, I
down.
promise. Now I want to place it so
Dee-dee,
it kind of
dee-dee,
integrates with the
dee-dee,
small
dee-dee.
industrial estate that is already a part of Gonzerfeld.
Mr. Biden,
And
your
it's going to take
medication
a
is
bit of farmland,
ready.
of course. So let's
Medication is
just kinda
ready.
line it right here.
Medics, it's
This one
ready.
isn't just gonna be a place and
Medication.
forget though, because I do imagine, as Danon also highlights in the suggestion, that nice integration with a nearby highway is gonna be a necessity for a developer to actually choose this site in the first place. So obviously that is something we're gonna care about as
Joe
well.
is a
So I do
clown.
have a bit of a
Joe
funky
is a
idea, and it has been a
clown. Joe
little
is a
while since
clown.
I've done some proper crazy infrastructure, which I mean is kind of a bit of a
Joe
trademark, I
is a
guess.
clown.
I'm gonna use network tools to add another node here, and
Joe
I
is
just
an
utilize this
old
one.
clown.
Then we're going to upgrade the segment to a 2+1,
Joe Biden.
which we're just gonna offset like this.
Joe.
Yes.
Hey,
Already
Joe.
dumbing myself here, so I know I'm on the right track.
Gonna shoot that
We're
lady
gonna
down.
treat this, or rather we're gonna
Ooh,
turn this
should've
into
killed
an
her.
actual ramp, moving on to the expressway. So something like this. Oh, we're just winging it right now. And then this ramp here is going to be a direct connection to the distribution center, which I am pretty confident the truckers are going to appreciate quite a bit. By the way, a quick note on these wonderful modern industrial warehouses.
India,
as I just make sure to add a bit of electricity. They actually come with a bunch of truck props already out of them, so you don't have to do any detailing. If you subscribe
Looks
to the
different.
necessary dependency, or yeah, if you add it
Looks
to the
different.
playlist. I haven't done this because they are US themed, so they
4K
wouldn't fit quite as well
Paradise.
in Seaberg. It's no biggie, we can just add it on our own, but it's just a really
Paradise is
nice
a
little extra feature
paradise.
of these assets. I'm
Paradise
definitely
is
just doing fun
paradise.
things now, but I'd like another
Paradise.
access point, so we're just gonna branch straight out
A
from
bird
this
is a
road here
bird.
and get this connection in place as well.
A nigger
For
is a
good measure,
nigger.
I'm adding my classic
This is not
trademark
what you should
useless
say. You
LEs
should not
into
say
the
this.
asset. Just to have some actual
It's a
intersections
lesson, you
here
should not
leading
say
into them,
it.
which I think just
Don't
makes
think
so
it.
much sense. I usually just name
Don't
these
do
like
it.
a dot, so that it's
Don't
the
kill a
least
nigger.
intrusive naming I can come up with.
Don't
since,
kill all
unfortunately,
niggers.
I can't remove the name completely.
Don't kill a nigger. Don't kill a nigger. Don't
We
kill
do
a
have rail tracks right
nigger.
nearby, but I'm just not sure it's
Niggers,
something that's
don't kill
utilized all that
niggers.
much in like a modern
Niggers.
distribution warehouse like this one. So I'm not too
Niggers.
keen on doing any type of rail integration as it currently is. I'm gonna add just a few additional roads though, so that there's a bit of space here for a
Niggers,
few additional
niggers,
industrial developments,
niggers,
some
niggers,
warehousey type
niggers,
stuff, and the
niggers.
likes, just to kind of bump the job count and the
Niggers,
overall amount of activity out
niggers,
here.
niggers. Oh! Das ist ja schon noch impressive, du. So, jetzt aber du. Backfire. Jesus Gott. das ist- Weißt du, nur weil es ein Senior ist, heisst nicht, dass er nicht kriminell ist.
Nur
weil er in der Windel ist und nicht mehr kann reden, heisst nicht, dass er herzig ist. Das sind Verbrecher. Milosevic und so, ja. Sag ich jetzt mal, ja. Genau der, ja. Das ist der Schlimmste, ja.
1100 jobs out here in Gunterfeld to a population of 1500, so it's quite the
Der
economic
Milosevic,
engine.
ja.
And I think it's really nice because when we built this town in the
Milo
previous episode, we did
Ivanovic,
talk
ja,
about
ja.
making it an economy on its
Verschießt
own.
doch
But,
einfach
like,
alle, nicht
it's not
einfach
super
Spitze, ja.
dependent alone on
Der
just
Belgier kannst du am
Seaberg.
Leben lassen und alle
People
anderen
actually
verschießen.
move here. They want to live here. This
Nur
is
der
also why the school is relatively modern. But if that is the
Und
case,
der
it
Araber
should
auch,
probably
der
also
andere
feature
Scheiß.
some
Araber.
actual modern
Aber die
developments to
anderen
cater
Brutalen
to
wahrscheinlich
young families
Das
wishing
ist
to move out
super,
here
ja.
because obviously there's no modern,
Alle ausser
there's
der
no modern
Belgier
housing
und der
stock
Araber,
Gunterfeld currently, so
Das ist gar
it's
kein-
just kind of limited.
Fast
There's
alles
only
schießen.
so much housing here,
Von mir aus gesehen.
unless someone was to
Kein
buy out a
kleiner,
bit of farmland
kein
and build some cookie cutter modern
Nicht der
housing.
Edwin.
Such as this field,
Nicht der Kloten.
right next to the agricultural
Silvio
school,
Kloten.
or more importantly, right next to the
Edwin
elementary
Meyer.
school. And pretty
Wer ist
small
noch
and
gewesen?
limited, I guess, in
Raphael
yield
Henninger,
or
oh ja, das
harvest.
ist ganz ein
I think it's
grosser.
yield, right?
Und
That's
dann ein
right,
Baumgarten,
so let's get
ja.
rid of this.
Da ist der
Assume
Vater
that
am
the farmer
Leben,
has
ja.
sold
Und
it
der
to
Söhne
a
fast alle
property
drei
developer and
Der
put
Jan, der
something
Andrin
fancy
und der
instead.
Silvan.
Actually, it's
Also
not
gut,
gonna
das
be
solltest du
fancy
eben
at
alles
all.
nicht sagen,
It's
ja?
just going to
Solltest
be
du eben
some,
nicht sagen, ich nehme alles
low
zurück, siehst du
density
jetzt?
stuff.
So solltest du eben
So
nicht
we're
reden,
gonna
ist
get some
gut?
of that into Seaberg, and it's a fun process to actually get
That's
started
happening,
with because it's just the
That's schnell.
first of many of these
Weil
types of
sonst, ich
projects.
habe schon Strafe
I'm
bekommen,
just
ja?
doing a very, very quick
Die hat mich
and
schon auf dem
simple road
Radar
layout
gehabt,
just to
ja.
get a bit of space for placing these houses. It's going to be a
Das
bit of
sind
an experiment, but I'm going to try to use Groomies French-themed,
Sind da
low-density
wirklich
residential houses for this.
ganz
These are probably a little more
abgeschottet
traditional
irgendwo
than what I'm
wahrscheinlich.
intending to use them for here, but I'm hopeful that with a bit of recolor,
Irgendwie hat es
I
alles
might
so
make it work.
zusammengepasst
It's
und dann
just,
ist Sandra
it's just
da
an experiment,
gewesen.
basically. So, yeah, it's
Sandra
just gonna be the
Bommer und
same
der Luzi
kind of
Stamm.
house. Again
Und der Guido
again
Vogler
and
auch,
again.
ist meiner Mutter gewesen, auch noch. Siehst du, so läuft da. Meine arme Mutter hat mit dieser Schwuchtel müssen zusammen sein. Ey.
So how do I make these look more modern? Well, as mentioned, recolor is gonna have to do the bulk of the work.
Aber was
And
hätte
I
ich
think
sollen machen dort? Ich
having
weiß
like a
nicht.
black
Mann.
roof tile is
Ich
a
hätte nicht
pretty
sollen
good
Pool
step
holen.
in the
Das
right
wäre
direction,
in so einer
maybe
Situation. Ich hätte
making
nicht
the
sollen Pool
house
holen.
a little
Das ist wirklich
off-white,
falsch.
something like this. It's less cozy old terracotta
Das ist falsch.
roofing and more like modern
Aber ich
white
hab's nicht
roofing. I think this
Hat
works
die nicht
just
gehabt,
fine.
die Bulle.
And we can still utilize this very same asset for like older, more rural areas as well in the future. Because they're recolorable and it just changes so much. I want to keep things simple, so we'll feature just a little bit of dedicated guest parking. Like this, and then maybe a playground or like a little dog park.
Auf jeden Fall, ja. Langst schnell an, ja. Willst du schon noch den Finger reinstecken, auch noch, oder was? Kann ich noch schnell die Hosen runterlassen, oder was? Willst du auch noch... Also gut, ja. Nein, es sind liebe Leute.
We're gonna plant a ton of trees because this is something that Seeberg actually tries to prioritize in modern developments, which is more than can be said for most places around the world. But we're gonna keep them fairly small, assuming that this area isn't all that old, maybe it's like 10 years old or something like that.
Das ist Wahnsinn.
So things really haven't gotten the chance to like fully grow.
Das würde ich wieder machen, glaub ich.
They have made sure to like keep some of those spruce trees around on this lot though, that they didn't have to remove, especially near the expressway, so that's always nice. And that is pretty much it. This is an area that needs to look distinctive, but mainly from a distance. Ideally, you can mass produce these, at least if you're trying to achieve like a somewhat realistically scaled city. And I think as we zoom out, it's very obvious that it's a type of development and architecture that is very distinctive from the like original heart of Gunterfeld.
Da kommt der Paulis nicht mehr nach, ja. Das tut er gar nicht mit seinen Videos posten nachher, wahrscheinlich. Sagt er, nein, das ist ja demütigend, ja. Das ist wegen dem. Das ist so verrankt in Amerika, ey. Das ist so verrankt, ey. Die gehen nur Leute umbringen mit diesen Manövern, damit sie Schiss haben alle zum Rasen. Damit jeder sein Tempo fährt. Ja, genau so musst du fahren, ja. Da ist 50. Ja, und du fährst ein bisschen schneller, weißt du, ja, und so, ja.
Small developments this time on the other side of the train tracks. I think it's fair to assume this one is slightly older maybe than the first development we built in the northern part of Gunterfeld. The trees are at least older because they're just more grown. And as we just zoom out and have an overall look, I think these additions are really nice. They add a ton of character to Gunterfeld, really help take it from a pretty generic small town to something that is very much unique in the context of the Seeberg metropolitan area. At least for now, we might get additional towns in the future that have some of the same features. But then zooming even further out and moving back to the tram clustered avenue, I'm interested in seeing how things are looking. Yeah, I mean, this stretch is still very much a
Das ist eben die sogenannte Soft Power, ja. Für die es noch nicht gecheckt haben, ja, die einen haben es glaube ich gecheckt, aber dann sagt man Soft Power, ja. Das ist auch in der Schweiz angekommen ist, ja. Das ist eben Soft, ja. Ganz soft. Schau jetzt, das solltest du nicht machen, solltest du nicht machen. Solltest du nicht machen, solltest du nicht machen. Und dann, wenn man es gleich macht, was passiert dann? Ja, genau. Dann, was ist dann? Ich weiß nicht, was ist dann?
Wahrscheinlich probably a little weird and a little wonky. So, yeah, once again, I'm very much open to feedback.
Ausser jemand sieht es, ja. Dann ist nicht gut.
Which I've said a couple of times during this episode, but
wenn es niemand sieht, ist das Problem.
Even more weird now.
Dann ist es gut, ja.
My plan is to use this as a
template
for a new version where instead of this being a shared
Schau, wir sind alle im Häuschen, ja, wir können uns einfach schnell besuchen, ja, wenn wir wollen. Weißt du, was ich meine? Aber du nicht. Du bleibst stehen und du kommst stehen und jetzt sind wir noch arbeiten, ja. Wir haben ja 2 Tage Wochenende, das ist ja schön. Kannst ja bei der Arbeit auch noch vogeln kommen. Weißt du, so, ja, solltest du ja nicht, aber weißt du, es weicht ja nicht und so, ja.
I've done the very same thing with this version with the central platform here. Once again, renaming it slightly, still 32 meters wide. Now the final bit is actually just this segment here, which is its own configuration since it's a 5+2.
Ja,
I think it's going to work much the same.
Lucia. Ferrari
We
Lucia,
should now
ja,
have
sag ich
all the
noch.
new
Nein,
pieces we need. So let's just grab the picker tool and make sure we
Nimm doch einen
operate all
Lucia,
of these throughout.
Lutschen doch,
Also,
ja. Weißt du, ich meine?
Yeah, I'm gonna use Link to make sure that we don't
Lucia,
have
der
all of
Teufel,
these
ja.
connections in
Das stimmt
between the train
wirklich, es
tracks,
ist der
because
Teufel und
obviously
sie
that
lutschen, ja.
it's gonna look a little
Das stimmt
rough.
so.
But on second thought, this place
Kannst
is
du sie
just a
fragen,
little
ja,
too
Lucia.
complex. So I think if
Vogler.
we commit to this
All
upgrade, go into Network Tools,
Alt
and get rid of
Rüttistrasse
this node
160,
here,
ja.
that is, yes, probably better.
wohnt sie mit ihm zusammen, ja. Meistens ist sie weg. Sie halten es nicht aus mit ihm. Sind Geschwister, die zusammen wohnen, musst du das mal geben. Das ist komplett wahnsinnig. Weißt du, die ficken nicht, weißt du, wie ich meine? Und ganz sicher haben sie schon mal gefickt miteinander. Ich glaube es ganz sicher nicht, der Guido ist ein Schwuchtel, ja. Guido ist ein Schwuchtel. Ja, aber der macht es ja nicht, weißt du wieso? Es gibt kein Kind. Wenn Schwuchteln ficken, gibt es ja kein Kind, oder? Weil der Schwanz ist schon ab, oder? Bei denen, weißt du wie ich meine? Vielleicht weißt du, wie ich meine?
Which is hopefully going to cause results in a bit of a difference here. I can only imagine it will, because I mean, it is these two lines kind of competing over the same set of tracks and stations that's causing the issues here. The final piece of the puzzle is obviously just making sure that we've got proper stops set up for each of these two lines here, which I can tell you was fairly tricky, but I just kind of removed all the stops here, and there's not even a conflict here now. I mean, it's a mess. Just look at the amount of train tracks here, but I think it's gonna work. So we've got the stops in place here on either side. We just need the final stop right here. Alright, let's hit play on this weird experiment and see how it all pans out. Maybe this is the correct angle.
Ja, mich dunkt, das Tram fährt ein bisschen mehr als 3% Steigung. Wie geht das? Das ist wahrscheinlich irgendwie eine Zahnradbahn oder so. Gottfried Stutz nochmal. Hat es dort etwas drunter oder was? Nein,
the solution does work. There is no tram cluttering whatsoever along the now slightly more complex Avenue of the Princes.
So, jetzt machen wir es mal so.
Aesthetics are really